It is Wednesday, the 4th of March. We're looking at the somewhat past full moon. I believe it's called the Bear Moon. There's probably several other names for it. I suppose I can look them up in Google to find out the other names of this moon. But again, it is Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. I don't know if I mentioned the year. There was a total lunar eclipse. I hope that's not a Freudian slip. There was a total lunar eclipse early Monday morning. Early Tuesday morning on the 3rd. So it's a day and a half and a bit past full, and we have this nice halo around it. It's cloudy conditions, and that's causing this basically just diffusion of light in the clouds around where the moon is. It's not actually a lunar halo in the sense of a halo that has some color to it. There's basically two different types of lunar halos. There's a very large diameter one called a 22-degree lunar halo that can be seen at times around the moon, and then sometimes there's lunar halos much more closely concentrated on the moon. So what we see here, as I said, it's not so much either of that type of halo, certainly not the first type, the 22-degree halo. But yeah, there's no rings, there's no color, it's just a diffuse light. But what I do like about this type of halo is that it is comparable to the sun's corona during a total solar eclipse. During a total solar eclipse, the black disk of the moon covers the sun and it reveals the corona, and the inner sort of part of the corona is essentially similar to what we're looking at now in terms of the amount of size around the moon. It can extend quite a bit more on either side, especially when it's a winged sun type of corona. But as a rule, we're looking at something that's very similar to total solar eclipse in terms of the size of the halo. I'm just going to raise the camera a bit here, just getting up to the top of the frame. And I think I'll move a little over to the left here, and we'll let it continue on up through the frame. So yeah, what we're seeing on the screen anyway is pretty similar to what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a fairly bright moon with the Maria visible. I will say that my eyesight is not superb, so I can make out the Maria, but that's about it. It's a little on the soft side. And then I see the halo. Okay, we got a fairly thick cloud just going by there. So the point I'm making here is that what I'm seeing on the screen is pretty similar to what I'm seeing with the eye. Not a huge difference. We do see some clouds going by there. So there's not much more to say really. We're using a Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter contemporary zoom lens on a Nikon D800. The f-stop is f8, so a little bit down from the maximum aperture of 6.3. I could stop down to f9 or 10. It might give a bit more definition. The ISO is 1250. So I might do another clip where I stop down a little more. A third of a stop or 2/3 of a stop. I don't think I'd go all the way down to f11. I don't see the point of doing that. I don't think it would improve anything very much. And you know, the ISO would be up around 1600. So again, I'm looking at the screen, I'm looking at the moon in the sky. I'm not seeing a huge difference in terms of what I'm seeing here. We see how it's come up through the frame again relatively rapidly. So it's still rising. I should perhaps reframe. I think I will. I'm going to go a little to the left, not as much as I did before, and a little like this. We'll see what that does. So we're just going to keep filming here. We're not going to change anything because, as I said, what I see on the screen is pretty good. Pretty similar to what I'm actually seeing with the eye, which is not always the case. Quite often there's differences due to the contrast levels, the lack of dynamic range. This camera has quite a bit of dynamic range. Did I mention it's a Nikon D800? So it has quite a lot of dynamic range. I think about 14 stops worth. Certainly 13 stops worth. Although I'm not sure if it has that much in video mode, now that I think about it. It might have less dynamic range in video mode. But nevertheless, quite a bit of dynamic range compared to some other cameras. And still, however, a few stops less dynamic range than the human eye has, I would say. So, that's that. We'll just let this continue. Slightly off center, and we'll just let the moon rise up through the frame. It's getting closer to the top than the bottom at the moment, and it's a bit left of center. So yeah, I could do a bunch of different shorter clips, but sometimes it's just easier to reframe and do a longer clip. I mean, we're still at less than 7 minutes, 8 minutes I should say, less than 8 minutes. So, what do I do? I think that there's a car here, we're going to park. Well, it can't anyway, so the car can't park here. Just debating, I think I might raise the angle just a little to let the moon continue up towards the center there, so I'll have it centered eventually. So yeah, we'll see how that works. I'm debating stopping down a little bit. Let's go to F9. I'm going to go to F9. So that's F9. So we lost a bit of the halo. It shrunk a bit. But we have a bit more detail in the surface of the moon. Again, I would say we even have a bit more detail in the surface of the moon, the Maria, than I'm seeing with the eye. I'm seeing a brighter moon with the Maria are there, but they're not as dark as what I'm seeing on the screen here. So, what to do? The halo, however, although it has diminished a little, I think it's actually closer to what I'm seeing in terms of the eye. So I might have the exposure better for the halo, and ironically better for the surface of the moon as well. So yeah, we're just going to let this run. Not much point doing short clips, although I might do a couple of short clips just to have a couple of short clips. But initially anyway, I just want to have this footage here of the moon just above center, moving to the right slowly as the Earth rotates, or as the world turns, if you want to reference a old soap opera. So, what to do? I think we're going to wrap this up. I'm just debating raising the camera again. I think I will. I think I'll raise the camera a bit. Oops, a little too much. Okay, there we go. And I think I'll pull it a little bit to the left here. Let it come up through the frame again. But yeah, so this is going to be a longish clip. But we're going to end it soon. And then I think I'll just do a couple of short 30-second or so clips with the moon more or less centered. So yeah, I haven't really got too much in terms of the moon off on the right, but I don't particularly want that anyway. The moon is moving from left to right, north to south. So why go in a way that's sort of counteracting that? So yeah, here we have the moon slightly above center, slightly to the left of center. It'll soon be centered in terms of left to right, but slightly higher in the frame than if it was absolutely centered in the frame. But yeah, that's right now we're about, the moon's pretty well centered, moving further to the right now. And yeah, we're gonna let this go for a bit longer, and then I think we're gonna do a couple of shorter clips, and then I think we're gonna call it a night. I might adjust the shutter speed. The shutter speed is a 30th of a second. I might not have mentioned that. I could go down to a 25th, which would allow me to shave the ISO down a bit to, let's say, 1,000. I mean, I could even 25th at f8 at 800 might even work. So I think I'll do that just in terms of getting the maximum quality out of this thing. I might do a couple of stills, but I find that no matter what I do to try to reduce vibration, there's always some vibration. That's one of the reasons I shoot videos, besides having video, is to have less camera shutter vibration issues. That's it for now. We're down to like 13 minutes, I think, of recording.